But if not, I'll give you a quick tour of the milk house and then we're gonna call in the goats. And you wanna pan over here and just show the babies? Babies are waiting for mamas to come in from the pasture because they're out right now. But I'm gonna bring them in and milk. It's a little earlier than I usually milk, but I'm trying to keep you all on a schedule. So come on in the milk house. My daughter Megan is filming today, and she actually built this milk house out of a kit. And all of these goats were her goats originally. So she's now up in Fort Collins and has just graduated from college. Anyhow, this is the milk stand, and here's where the feed is. So the goats are happy to come in here because they know what's going to happen in here. All right, so the thing is, everybody's happy to come in the milk house. So if you don't want your whole milk house filled with goats, you have to figure out how to entice the other goats to stay busy while you bring in the goats you wanted. So come on out here, I'll show you where everybody is. And hopefully they'll come when I call them. But they're out on pasture right now. So you can see here they come, big old fat mamas. Come on, look at these waddly girls. A few of these girls, one of these girls is still pregnant. Well, a lot of them are waddling more than you would expect for not being pregnant. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a little bit of feed. This is just a mix of grain and alfalfa pellets. And I'll put it in here, and they know it's here. That's why they're all coming. It's not that they're all so well trained. And this will get everybody busy, and then hopefully I can distract and get somebody out here. You want to come first? All right, Miss Calypso's going to come first. Okay, so Calypso's going to get milk first. And she's probably a little confused because, like I said, this is a little earlier than I normally milk. Come on in with us. All right, so she jumps right up on the stand here. We close the stanchion, and we are ready to milk. So, if you didn't join me this morning, I'll kind of be repeating some of what I showed this morning. But basically, what I'm going to do is clean up her udder. There's only one udder, but it has two teats and two different sides here that are split up. And what I usually like to do is first, I like to express a little bit of milk into a little container. Sometimes my barn kitty shows up to drink that. And then I already did test her this morning, but I'm going to test her again just so you can see it in case you weren't here this morning. We're going to do a little mastitis test. This is just to screen her for any subclinical mastitis that could be developing, hopefully not. We put a little milk in the paddle, and we put this formula in and swirl it around, and it should just go back to looking like milk. It's kind of purple milk now, but if she had any mastitis developing, it would turn to a gel. And that would tell me, even without symptoms, that this mastitis is brewing, and we would treat it early, get rid of it quickly. We wouldn't keep that milk. Oh, here comes Dusty. He's always present when we're milking. Here you go. Okay, there's some milk for you. All right, so I know he's like, what is that video camera doing? All right, so then we're just going to squeeze, and you'll notice here, you can even come in and look at my hands real close here so I have a little help, is that I'm not pulling the teats at all. What I'm doing is basically the milk comes out of the udder into the teat, and if I close off the top and then roll my fingers down, all that milk comes out, and then it fills up again, and I roll. So I'm just doing that action really fast and without actually letting go of the teat. So it's not really a pulling method so much as it is release to let it fill and then squeeze it out. You'll see Calypso here has quite a bit of milk. She is a 5-year-old fourth freshener. So she has had babies 4 times already. She's had 4 sets of twins. And she produces over a gallon of milk a day plus whatever her one baby is nursing on. So she has 2 babies, but one of them is being bottle fed because it had some foot problems when it was born and it couldn't stand up to nurse. So she's nursing the other one full time, but she's still producing so much milk that I am milking her twice a day and getting almost a gallon in addition to what that baby's eating. And if I didn't milk her twice a day, she would just drop off her supply to meet the demand of that baby. And that would be a shame, because when that baby's done, I want all this milk for me for making cheese. So I milk her every day about a half gallon. I won't milk her until she's empty. I'll just milk till I can feel like, okay, that's probably enough for baby to have plenty through the night. And I'll know if I guessed right or not by in the morning. If she has excess milk again, that baby's had all it needs, and all of this is extra. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take this milk, and I'm going to pour it into a filter here, right into my mason jar. And this is going to filter out any dirt or hair, dust, anything that might have gotten in there that's big, just so that we don't have that floating around in our milk. And then I'm going to come back to her, and I'm going to spray the ends of her teats with some, it's called Fight Back. It's a disinfectant, and that's going to help close up the teats too, because it's a cold spray. Sometimes it takes does a little while to get used to what that feels like. I had one doe one year that hated this cold spray, and she knew it was coming. And you get toward the end of the milking, and she'd start getting all squirmy and dancing around and kicking the bucket. And I finally put 2 and 2 together and figured out it was anticipating the spray, and she never did get used to it. So instead of spray for that doe, I used a teat dip. And so that's another way we can do this. This is a little container that the stuff, when it's full, will go in there, and you can just dip them, and it's not as cold, and that made her settle down a little bit. I don't like this method as much because it's a little messy, but the other problem with it is because it isn't cold, it doesn't do as good a job of closing up that orifice that we've just opened. The cold spray actually helps close that, and that's really important because she's going to go back in the barnyard, and we've just opened up this orifice, and if she goes back in there and dirt and manure gets up in her teeth, that's going to make her prone to mastitis. So a lot of this stuff we're doing for her health to make sure we don't get mastitis. Preventing mastitis is the best cure for mastitis. All right, so you can see how patient she is here. She finished her grain. She's still standing here patiently waiting. This is an attribute I look for in my does, and the does that have this temperament are the ones that are going to stay in my milk house year after year. And she is such a sweet, good girl. Yes, she is so good. Thank you. So people often ask me if the does like to be milked, and I can definitely tell you that they do, because what they find is that I'm relieving all that pressure in that udder full of milk, and she's getting to have a good snack while we do it, and then I let them have a little grass afterwards. It's a pretty good deal. So, all right, so we milk twice a day here at this time of year. We'll keep milking twice a day, usually until about September, maybe middle of September, when it starts getting dark earlier in the evenings. And their milk production starts to drop off by then anyhow. And I don't really like coming out to milk in the dark. It starts getting cold. So I usually go down to once a day milking at that point. And then I'll milk until about December, sometimes into January. Now the does will start getting bred while they're still in milk. So we'll start breeding in, say, October, November. We usually like to have spring babies, and that's okay. They can be in milk and be being bred and be pregnant for the first 3 of their 5 months of gestation. The last 2 months that they're pregnant, though, we don't want them to be in milk and trying to grow this baby. It's just too much demand on the doe's body. So we dry them off for the last 2 months. And we do that by gradually spreading out how often we're milking them. And if we go to every 36 hours, and then every 48 hours, and then every 3 or 4 days, they'll gradually stop producing as much milk. So it's pretty cool. All right, so we'll end with just seeing babies playing. And I'm going to hop over to my Instagram channel next, which is The Art of Cheese Longmont. And we're going to milk the other 2 does over on that side. All right, and then tomorrow, if you come back, we are going to be starting to process the milk and get ready to make our delicious goat cheese. So we'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, and we'll be on Instagram tomorrow morning at 8:15, and then we'll do the whole thing in the afternoon again. So thank you all for joining me. I'm going to hop over to Instagram now. Maybe I'll see some of you there.